Right, it is a big weekend in the Premier League, and so that justifies? Yeah, I think it justifies a combined 11 of Liverpool and Chelsea. Liverpool, of course, hosting Chelsea. There's an excuse anyway to compare the two teams, look at the quality, at least the quality on paper, and some of the season they've been having. I think as you see where we're going with this, there is a little combined 11, you will see my logic. Hopefully you'll see the logic, and you'll see what we're thinking in terms of how Liverpool want to play, how Chelsea want to play. I kind of like the way that Chelsea play. I kind of enjoy the way that Chelsea play at the moment. Don't want to zoom in that much. And I think overall, there is a comparability between the qualities of the squad, especially when it comes to midfield and attack. And I think that's where it's a bit more subjective. And it's whether you're a combined 11 maker who goes, but these guys have to be able to play together. Or you're a combined 11 maker who goes, some of them, sure. Some of them, not so much. Let's start at the back, guys, because I think at the back, Liverpool probably hold a statistical advantage over Chelsea. Not only they're playing in the stronger competitions when it's come to the Champions League, but they also conceded quite a few less goals, actually. A quarter of the goals in the Premier League that Chelsea have conceded, possibly because they've not been playing quite as hard opposition, but also because there is a change in the way that this backline operates under not only Arne Slot, but the rest of his backroom coaching staff is Heiting and those kind of guys in there as well. And I also think there is a bit of a change in the way that Chelsea operate as well. You would argue that maybe Chelsea looked a little bit more porous towards the beginning of last season and then tightened up towards the end of the Poch era. And now Maresca is really just drilling these guys, and I think he's found a preferred back four. But broadly, you'll probably say that I think this is a relatively fair back line. Alisson Becker in goal. Obviously, he's injured for the game against Chelsea, out for a little while. That's probably one of his only deficiencies as a goalkeeper. Apart from that, I think he's the best goalkeeper in the world. By the way, I made the combined kits kind of Barcelona style. I think or maybe like Richmond FC. You know what I'm saying? But the point is, I went dominant Liverpool colour on Liverpool channel here. Gold for the other colour because it's, Liverpool and Chelsea both love that yellow. And then obviously for the sleeves, there's the blue. Maybe if I'd gone the other way around, it actually would have looked a bit stupid. No shade to Basel. Anyway, the point is, as a backline unit, I think therefore you have to put in Konate. I think Konate has been broadly acknowledged as the guy who's going for a lot of the man of matches for Liverpool. There's possibly even like an eye test outperforming the guy on the opposite side to him, but that guy always laid down or has at least to this point in the season, laid down a very solid bed for someone like Konate to go out there and be slightly more aggressive, switch over to the other side. And we're seeing a change in system, and to an extent, we're proving the quality of these players. I think a lot of people thought, how much quality does this Liverpool team have, and how much is it that Klopp is just outperforming the underlying metrics? There was a season where Liverpool's defence looked like they could have conceded a lot. I think I saw a stat the other day that Liverpool could have conceded something like 55 goals if it wasn't for Alisson Becker and Van Dijk one season when they were really looking like they're on their knees. But that's not now. And we're looking at this season. There's probably a good cut-off point for both teams. And the rivalry between the two might cloud some people's judgment. Hopefully not mine. Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think, is quite an easy pick for right back here. I was going through the Chelsea squad earlier. Let me just take you through this, because some of these guys look like they've been generated by AI. Robert Sanchez, he's a real goalkeeper, guys. Jorgensen, again, a real person. Bettinelli, again, sounds like it's been generated by AI. Not. Bergstrom, equally, sounds generated, all real people. But none of them, of course, are Alisson Becker. That is not to say that I don't think Sanchez hasn't had some standout moments so far this season. I think this guy is proving why he was brought in at Chelsea. I think he wasn't a big name, particularly to English fans when he came in. There's probably a good reason why. And I think, because of the amount of rotation that Chelsea have had in recent years, it just makes him look like another name on a list. I felt like for now, they've got their guy for this season. Maybe Jorgensen's challenging, but broadly, I think Sanchez is probably that guy. I don't think he compares. I think you could probably even put Kelleher in there ahead, but we'll see. I guess we'll see this weekend. Moving on to the back line. Could I justify putting any of the centre-backs in that Chelsea have? Possibly. I considered putting Colwill in, but the problem is Colwill plays on the Van Dijk side. And I think a lot of people are currently talking about the resurgence of someone like Virgil van Dijk, which makes it difficult to put Levi Colwill in. Then you've probably got something like, we say in Disassi. Possibly, we say Badiashile, possibly, but are they on paper and in terms of defensive record equal to Liverpool? Possibly not. And I think I also prefer the style and the dominance of Konate and Van Dijk. At fullback, and I think this is valid here. Look where the fullbacks played in the last game for Chelsea. Look at the average positions. You can see how influential someone like Malagusto is, and how influential someone like Marc Cucurella is. But Malagusto here is a very attacking player. Broadly, it's acknowledged that Trent Alexander-Arnold, I'm going to change these. I actually want to zoom out a little bit, sorry, because I actually really want to change these to positions rather than numbers. It's going to annoy me because you guys are going to get annoyed at positions. Yeah. Zoom back in. He's acknowledged as the best right back in the world, especially for his attacking qualities. It's probably why Real Madrid want him. It's probably why he's put in man of the match performances for England, but also for Liverpool, and why he's vice captain. Broadly, I think we can all agree there. Left back was a little bit trickier for me. I've put in Cucurella. I like him as a player. I like him as a character. Seen a couple of interviews of him. You could equally say the same for someone like Andy Robertson. Fantastic left back. I don't think Tsimikas was in the competition for this. I think as a left back backup, it's hard to put you in there. If maybe Levi Colwill was playing in there, there's possibly an argument. And I'll be frank, I don't think that Chile or Jamie were in the competition, in the running for this position. Mainly just on-running injuries, on-running personal life stuff. Like them both as characters. Not sure we're seeing anything else. Then we get down to Malagusto. I think he was the most competitive. And then I think Wesley Fofana was a competitive name in the back line against Konate. I prefer Konate as a style. I prefer him as a character. And the man of the match performances he's put in, the growth he's shown, and also, I guess, the nature of the surprise for a lot of not Liverpool fans, but people who are interested in Liverpool, that he has taken such a prominent position, especially considering that Jarrell Quansah started at the beginning of the season, is really pleasant to see. And I'm a Liverpool channel here. Stick with me. So far, seems pretty open and closed. Robertson possibly in competition here. I think Robertson has taken a moment to get up to speed. Cucurella hasn't. Chelsea's goals, how they play, his adaptability, I think all play into how good he is as a player. Trent's probably there. Cucurella's probably there. They're both probably midfielders to me, which transitions me quite nicely. Now, this is where you may have some contentions, right? Stick with me. It's tricky, I know. What do you think? Mac, Grav, Palm. All sound like dishes served in a New York Italian restaurant. Some are not. Can I have the Mac? Yes. Can I have the Palm? Yes. Can I have the Grav? Get out of my restaurant. The point is, they're a good combination. And I think this is a really good question, which manager are you playing for? Which player is it that fits with who? Gravenberch, I think we can broadly agree, would probably fit into both managers' systems. But whether Chelsea fans would have him over Caicedo, and there are going to be loads of people who go, well, Liverpool made the £115 million bid for Caicedo, so clearly they rated him over Gravenberch. Yeah, they also made a bid for Lavia. Possibly there's an argument for Lavia here. But they also made a bid for other defensive midfielders. I don't think Endo is in this conversation. I'm not really sure if McAllister would really play on that side. I think we're looking at a midfield combination too, and then an attacking midfielder / runner up front. Some people would argue, and I think it's a fairly decent argument, if Palmer played, would you prefer a more out-and-out defensively minded player in the shape of someone like Caicedo, who plays, zoom in a little bit there, more like there? Maybe that's fair enough. And would you prefer an Enzo Fernandez? I've said no. Fair enough. Mac, I think, is probably backed up by Enzo Fernandez. McAllister's actually had a fairly underrated start to the season, I would say. I think he's grown into the new position that we've seen him put in by what I'd say is a manager who profiles players very well in on his slot. But I think saying Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo haven't had a strong season would be disingenuous. At the same time, I think Liverpool's midfield dominance and adaptability, the leadership, all those kind of things are going to play in their favour. Chelsea fans, you probably disagree. That's why I put the name Enzo Fernandez immediately below McAllister, because I think those two were the ones that were most borderline for me in that position. I've kind of done that in each of these areas here. I think Cucurella and Robertson, on that side, you probably got Fofana and Konate. I just don't think Trent had any competition for best right back. Maybe if Reece James was there, but even then it's like we've not seen a starting performance for 2 years. It makes it a little trickier. This is where it gets a little techie. Szoboszlai, I rated a lot so far this season. I very highly rate Szoboszlai. Really enjoy watching him as a player. Love his energy, love his application, love how smart he is, love the things he tries, love his bravery. I think all those things are brilliant. You can't argue for him against Palmer. Palmer has been one of the players of the season so far, but I just wanted to justify not having him in the team. I think Szoboszlai deserves some sort of credit there. There was even a possibility that you could have put Szoboszlai in one of these two positions, but he just hasn't played there enough. He did that a little bit in pre-season when there was kind of a, hey, where are you fitting? I think Gravenberch has been so dominant in terms of headlines and growth. He has to be in there. McAllister the same. You could make an argument for Caicedo. I don't think there's anyone else in there that I'm missing here. You know, if you wanted to say to me, I think, like there's a transitional midfielder where it's like, hey, could Vega be there? I don't think it's been used in that fashion. I just don't think I could justify it. Chukwuemeka, good player, but again, coming up. There's an argument that Dewsbury Hall, in terms of profile, could fit this team. In fact, you know, if he'd have been more permanent this season and Palmer had not been in the side, you might have seen Dewsbury Hall get that shout. But again, he's transitional season for Chelsea. He's also a player, I think he's like, you know, he's obviously not of the same form and therefore quality at the moment as Cole Palmer. Caicedo was a great shout. I'm going over a load of guys here I don't think are really in the competition for it. I don't need to justify that. And I think Romeo Lavia, we're talking long-term, whether I bring that guy into the squad is another thing. Obviously Klopp did, or Klopp would have. Whether Slot would, not sure. Now when we get up front, it gets very interesting. I'm still not sure, by the way, that Palmer would play with these two. I think he'd play very well with these two, but Szoboszlai does a lot of the work in terms of overall midfield fitting. Palmer's given a slightly freer role in a very different way. He's been informed, and obviously he's been given that license to roam. You could put Curtis Jack-Jones in that role. I don't think he's of the form or the quality of Palmer. Palmer's probably for me the first indisputable player in the team there, maybe apart from Van Dijk and probably Alisson, but I think he's indisputable. Now we get into a front line where it's pretty tricky. I've gone Diaz, Jota, Salah. But do we run a Liverpool channel here? What's he wearing that for? The point is, yes, there were some great arguments in here. I'll go back to the Chelsea squad. Pedro Neto. 2-bit part for me, transitional season. Impact player? Absolutely. Quality in there that could rival the likes of Jota and Diaz? Absolutely. Would I have loved to see him at Liverpool? Absolutely. Mudryk. Hey, Liverpool are allegedly interested in him. We can take him off your hands at a lower price. Fantastic. But would he start over Diaz and Gakpo right now? Possibly not. Madueke there's a shout for here. Madueke has had great form this season, and obviously a lot of that has been pumped up by different performances he's put in there. And I really rate him as a player. I actually really enjoy watching him. I think a lot of people underrated him, and again, he kind of travelled under the radar for a while because he felt like a Chelsea squad player. And so some people are kind of surprised by this form. I would not feel that way. First of all, I think because of his distinctive look early on, this and the fact that he feels like he's got a bit of personality in the way that he carries the ball makes a big difference. I would say, like, I don't know, what do you call it? Is that like a sweatband? Am I showing my age? Anyway, the point is, it's kind of like a sport thing. Keeps hair out of his face. It's practical, I give him that. It looks great though. Could you see João Felix wearing that? If it was a fashion thing, sure, Chelsea win this like 7 days out of 10. If it's a fashion thing, it's Madueke, it's Nkunku. It's not Palmer, though Palmer has some of the big brands on his side. I think it's probably Jadon Sancho in there. I think he's a fashionable player. And there are some arguments for fashion in here. In fact, I could probably change some names and make it an interesting fashion front line. Point is, Diaz, incredibly effective this season, combines well. Could you make an argument that Jadon Sancho should be over there? Possibly because we've seen more of Diaz in that position for the longer term. Some of the Liverpool fans would argue we haven't, but I think we have. I would say Diaz starts. Jota feels indisputable for me, but the Jackson numbers undermine some of my Jota feelings here. I think Jota is Liverpool's preferred striker, not only because of his combination play, but also because of the way that Liverpool play off him, because he brings other players into play really well there. Chelsea fans are going to make the exact same argument for someone like Nicholas Jackson. He's a fantastic combination player, he's a fantastic runner, but he's also the kind of guy that you would want in your team, not only as a second striker, as someone who would come on later, which again was the feeling for Jota for a while, but also because he's willing to sacrifice. If he was in a Liverpool team, he'd be making these runs probably in the way that we want Darwin Nunez to make right now. I would almost want Jackson in the team ahead of Darwin right now, just because of the role that I've seen him play. And that's changed quite considerably for me. So, I recognise his form, I recognise his goal-scoring ability. That's probably the only place where I think you can justify it. But I think Jota, for me, has won Liverpool games, in the same way probably as Jackson has. For me, it's down to personal choice and it's down to personal opinion. Jota over Jackson, that's the one where you could convince me. If we were to play 100 games, I'd probably play him 50 and him 50. And that also converts to a great percentage. The point is, Mo Salah feels indisputable for me. Madueke, sure, great. But I say he feels that. Some people are saying that post first international break, Salah has dropped off. And sure, there is an argument with stats here. There is an argument with, actually, I think Madueke is growing into the season, and some people are saying Salah's drop-off has come extra quick this season. I'm not sure that's a fair criticism, because I think a lot of the games Salah is asked to do a lot of very self-sacrificing things. I think he's asked to cover a lot back here. I think he's sacrificed a lot by coming inside and allowing other players to cross over with him. I think in what Szoboszlai's role is, and therefore also what Gravenberch's role is, the Liverpool rotations and the positions they end up taking up, and where, because of Trent's distribution, Salah's asked to play a lot more of a reading the game and where am I supposed to be running kind of role. Whereas Madueke is asked to get on the ball and run inside. It feels fair to me, feels fair. That is a very get the ball, run inside, attack your guy, see where you get to. And again, we get back to it. Could this front line play together? I think Cole Palmer would pick out Diaz very well. I think he'd pick out Salah very well. Would his passing be as utilised if you had Trent in the team? Like, for instance, I don't think necessarily that we're asking someone like Malo Gusto or Cucurella, maybe Cucurella more, but Malo Gusto, to make the same kind of passing range that Trent has. So I think what we're going on here is not so much, hey, what's the role that you have to play in the Chelsea team, but the role that I think if you were to combine these two managers, if you were to have someone like Trent in the Chelsea team, and possibly, you've seen the likes of Reece James and some really attacking, intelligent, well put together players in those positions, what would they do? I think you'd have more emphasis on the right back, and the same goes for Cucurella on this side, but the same goes for Palmer. Like, would you therefore rather have Jackson or Jota rotated in because Palmer they never take? But would Palmer have a higher goal return? I mean, Palmer scored some great goals, but would he have a higher goal return if he played off a very good combination striker like Jota? Possibly so. I think Salah's indisputable for me. I just wonder if those two cross over too much, and that's why you want more of an out-and-out winger there, possibly. Let me know in the combination comments below where you can combine your players. I'd just be interested to see it. Diaz. Is there a Sancho? João Felix just hasn't done enough yet for me. I think he can. His ceiling's incredibly high. And Nkunku just doesn't play enough for me. But when he does come on, believe me, if Palmer wasn't so in form right now, I think we'd be seeing an Nkunku shout for me. I wanted him at Liverpool. I would love to see him at Liverpool. I love his busyness. I love his intelligence. I love his finishing. I love how it can really combine well with, say, I think he's more like there at the moment, isn't he? How he combine well with all that as a combo. I just think Palmer's form is just undeniable. Let me know what you think in the comments below. It's a fascinating one because I think on paper and also in application, Chelsea have got the ability to punch across to Liverpool, and Liverpool have probably not had the difficult games. Chelsea have had some of these difficult games and they performed pretty well in them. I mean, if we're looking at their form here, zoom out a little, go back. Come on, zoom out, thanks. Look at that. Like, they lost, obviously, they drew the game to Crystal Palace. The Servette, which, if you're playing a piece of tablecloth, you should win against them. They didn't, but that was a game where they sacrificed some players. They have the thrashing of Wolves, Bournemouth, West Ham. Really, you'd say, I think you could feel it as a kind of, this is a very direct comparison between the two. New managers, really great legacy squads, and managers have been able to get their tactical identity over pretty quick, then playing teams that haven't quite tested them in the way they want them to, apart from one or two tests. They're both I mean, if anything, Chelsea outstripped Liverpool, but actually, I feel like that's a relatively comparable performance from Forest against Chelsea as well. And I also feel like they've had some of these blowouts. Really, this feels fair to me. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I'm sorry, I need to go back to that. This feels fair to me. Let me know in the comments below how you guys feel, because it's a tricky combination, but I guess we'll see. Let me know. And hey, if you don't like Salah in that front line, let's chat. If you want to put Jackson up there, let's chat. If you want to pitch Sancho over Diaz, or you want to put Pedro Neto there because you feel his impact in games is better, let me know. If you feel I've been unfair in the midfield, Chelsea fans, get at me. And yeah, I'll chat to you later. Much love. I'll see you on Sunday, actually. Bye.